Florida with patriots. I'm Matt Gaetz. I'm your congressman. Every 2 years, the Constitution says that I stand before you for my performance review. I'm here to ask you for your vote, and I'm here to ask you for the chance to keep fighting for you in our nation's capital. I promised 3 things when I ran for this job: that I would fight for our military mission and our veterans, that I would improve quality of life in our community, and that I would fight the corrupt system in Washington, D.C. that is so often turned against we the people. Our military mission is thriving. We got brand new helicopters at Whiting Field, training the best aviators on the planet Earth and getting them used to our Northwest Florida values right here. We got new hangars for them, and in the defense bill this year, we got a new hangar system to make sure that the Blue Angels always call Pensacola home. And quality of life around here is so good, people keep moving in. You know, creates our own challenges with housing and with traffic, but a lot better than the problem other people have, where people keep trying to leave because the taxes are too high, because the streets aren't safe, and because their communities are in decline. Northwest Florida is ascendant. Our communities are ascendant, and we will continue making a strong contribution to the fight for our freedom, for our liberty, for our military, and for our veterans. Just in the last 12 months, our office has worked diligently to return over $15 million to Northwest Floridians, whether that's through the VA not giving people what they're owed or the IRS taking too much. We will fight for you. We are here for you, and know that you can come to our office and we are at your disposal. But the reason you've been seeing a few advertisements out there about me is because I got no problem going to Washington and taking the fight to them, because I come from a district of fighters. So when the rest of them are bought and paid for by the lobbyists and the special interests, I am proud to stand before you as the only Republican in the United States Congress who takes no lobbyist money, no PAC money. I work for you and you alone. And oh, they hate me for it. They just hate me for it. And you know what? It's because it puts your interest above the special interest. There's no reason why we ought to approve a federal budget 3,000 pages at a time with everything tied together. But the corrupt people who want to have their programs and their carve-outs and their extra benefits for illegal aliens, they all want that to be all at once. And I think that is wrong, and that's why I've been fighting for single subject spending bills, where every agency of government has to justify their budget. And too often we don't get these things because it's both political parties who end up too compromised. And so I would love nothing more than to just go fight the Democrats. But if Republicans are going to dress up like Democrats in drag, then I will lead the fight against them too on your behalf. I fired that corrupt former Speaker of the House. I'm glad I did it. And you know what? He's so mad about it, he's spending $900,000 a week on advertisements lying about me to all of you. Well, you know what? I am always strongest when I have Northwest Florida in my corner. So we're not going to be getting our lessons about who to take our congressmen from, whether they come from Missouri or some liberal former Speaker of the House from California. I whooped Kevin McCarthy in Washington, and all y'all be happy to whoop him right here in Florida 1. And oh, did they get to the bottom of the barrel and who they got to run against me? They went and found some guy who is a BLM supporting DEI instructor from Missouri. In Northwest Florida, we will always judge people not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. DEI, what this Aaron Nemec's pushing, DEI is an order form for people. It says it's what's on the outside that counts. Immutable traits, what your skin color is, what your religion is. We never believe in judging people that way. America is a place of hope and opportunity. America is not a slave auction where you buy and sell people based on the color of their skin. In Northwest Florida, you're not just going to re-elect me, you're going to defeat Aaron Dimmick. You will defeat the ideology of DEI, and we will drive anyone out who believes in that racist garbage. I'm honored to be here with some special folks. I got my amazing wife, Ginger, here. You'll hear from her in a moment. And when, President Trump, he does a pretty good arrival, but I gotta say, my arrival with the boots on the ground bikers was pretty darn good today. Thank you all so much for bringing us in, keeping us safe. Boots on the ground, Bernie, Casper, the whole team. And I certainly wouldn't be here without two of the most amazing people on the planet Earth, my mother, Vicki Gaetz, and your next senator, Don Gaetz. But this is a special place, and we fight for our special freedoms, and I got two friends here with me today. Please welcome to the stage our host, the owner of Gulf Coast Guns, Chris Smith, and a terrific advocate for the Second Amendment, Kyle Rittenhouse. Come on up, fellas. So, my buddy Chris and I have been friends for a while now. And Chris, just give everybody a sense of how you had the idea to bring this together and the freedoms we're looking to define.
Honestly, guys, when I saw that they convicted Donald Trump on all charges in a rigged trial, I saw that our government had been weaponized against us. And we're in a battle. We're in a battle right now. And they have thrown the Constitution out the window. They're not reading it. And the problem is, it's not just Democrats that aren't reading the Constitution anymore. Matt knows this better than any. We have rhinos in Washington. We have rhinos in the state legislature. We have local rhinos, and none of them are reading the Constitution. They've thrown it out the window. We have to fight these guys because we founded the greatest country in the world, and they're taking it away from us every day. And when I say something like that, I'll have people yell at me, if you don't like this country, leave. If you don't like what's going on here, if you think there's a better country, leave. There's not a better country. But I'm not going to leave. I'm going to fight for this country because this is my country. I'll never tell you that if so-and-so's elected, I'm leaving the country. And I wouldn't expect anybody that loves this country on either side to say that. Because if you really love it, you'll stand up and fight for it, whatever it takes to fight for it, no matter what they say about you, no matter what they call you, no matter what they do to you, no matter what kind of persecution they put against you.
Amen. A good friend of mine who is a man of action is Kyle Rittenhouse. Give him a Northwest Florida welcome. Kyle, you wrote a great book. A bunch of our friends here are going to get a signed copy today. Tell everybody what you've been up to, how you've been advocating for the Second Amendment, how you've been using your experience to vindicate the freedoms of others.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt, for having me out here. So I'm now the new outreach director for Texas Gun Rights. I'm based in Texas. And a big part of my job is advocating for the Second Amendment, fighting for our God-given rights, because our Constitution was based on biblical principles, and not a lot of people recognize that. I am fighting for the Second Amendment. I am putting pressure on different politicians that don't do the right thing. As you know, people who in politics, when they do the wrong thing, the grassroots likes to spring up and will come after you, and that's part of what I've been doing, fighting to keep our rights sacred.
Amen. And that is the balance they fear. When the people are powerful and have the ability to forcefully advocate for our rights, well, there's a lot of concern about that. And, Chris and I became friends because, I know you guys see me out on TV questioning the Attorney General or questioning the Secretary of DOD. A lot of the work we have to do is one-on-one to a specific bureaucrat messing with one of our local businesses. And when Chris started learning about what the ATF was doing to our licensed gun dealers, he reached out and he really provided a lot of insight. And just give people here that might not know a sense of what the battle is like, particularly against the ATF.
So guys, this federal organization's agenda now is to shut as many gun dealers down as possible. And they've done it here in our area over and over and over again. And they didn't just come after us. They have came after FFL licensed dealers all over the area. They shut one down in Gulf Breeze. They shut one down in Jay. They shut one down in Crestview. They're going after another one in Crestview. And it's for clerical errors. It's for mistakes made by normal human beings that make normal mistakes. But there's no consequences when they make a mistake. They made numerous mistakes when they were in our store. But nobody shut the ATF down. They're coming after us because they haven't been able to take guns away from you guys. So now they're coming after the FFL dealers. They're killing us. They're taking our resources. They're tying up our licenses. They're spending months. They spent 3 months in my store trying to shut us down. It cost us almost $40,000 to keep our license here. That is money out of a small business. There's some that couldn't afford to pay that. There's some that had to shut down because they didn't have the resources to fight them. Luckily, we had the support of the local community like you guys. We had the resources to fight them. Don't get me wrong. It was hard, but we fought them and we won. But they're not done. They told us they will be back in September. The local agents said they will be back in our store coming after us again in September.
And you know what? We send our congressional staff to be right here alongside every one of those audits to stand with our local businesses. And you know why this has happened? Because they've instituted something called the zero tolerance policy at the ATF. And they've decided that instead of going after it, they could never get all the guns that all the Americans have. So they're trying to stop the lawful people that are lawfully getting us our guns through legal sales. That's the whole strategy. And so they have the zero tolerance policy. So you miss a date, you miss a mark, your signature goes a little bit outside the box, they do everything they can to revoke your license. Here is my promise to you. We get Donald Trump back in the White House. We get new leadership at the Department of Justice. We are repealing the zero tolerance policy as it relates to our small businesses, and we will institute a zero tolerance policy for the bureaucrats who are screwing the American people out of their lawful rights. Kyle, I want you to talk a little bit in your advocacy. Define the battle space and the enemy. You know, because there are so many well-funded groups out there trying to limit our access to our rights, trying to make gun ownership something evil and unresponsible, when we know responsible gun owners contribute greatly to the safety and security of an orderly community. What are you seeing out there, and what's your perspective?
Absolutely. We see constant attacks from the ATF every single day, going into mom and pop shops, shutting them down. As you just said in the green room, there's shops that have been closed down here because they missed a single filing type thing. They made one small mistake. The ATF is trying to make laws, and they're not lawmakers. And that is something that infuriates me, because there's everyday Americans who are trying to exercise their rights, and I don't think the government should have a say on that. I don't think there should be a 4473 to buy a gun. I don't think there should be a wait list. I don't think we should have red flag laws, and everything that the ATF has introduced and bad politicians has been a violation of our constitutional rights, and we need to fix it.
I'm so glad Florida is a constitutional carry state, but we need to be an open carry state. I think, Dad, you and I had the bill to make Florida an open carry state. So since we're sending you back to Tallahassee, that's your homework assignment. Open carry for the state of Florida.
Just say one thing. Mr. Gaetz, when you get up there, please let 18, 19, and 20-year-olds be able to legally buy guns in the state of Florida again. And do not let FDLE hold these good people's background checks indefinitely, where these people are held up 6 to 8 months to purchase a firearm.
Yeah, come on up, Dr. Rudman. Come on. We got your state representative here, a great champion for the Second Amendment, Dr. Joel Rudman. He's also an occasional rock star. Dr. Rudman, take a second and describe your legislation to actually put a shot clock on those who would try to limit our access to our firearms.
Thank you, Matt. And as everybody here knows, FDLE, they can take as long as they want to do your background check. And y'all are smart enough people to know when you give a government agency all the time in the world to do a simple task, how long is it going to take? It's going to take all the time in the world. So Chris Smith actually came up to me with the idea of a shot clock. We're going to give them 3 business days, Congressman, to do their work, right? Because, you know, nowadays in the 21st century with the internet and everything, man, we can tell you everything we need to know about you in 5 minutes. What takes 6 months, Chris? What takes 2 years? Would y'all believe Chris had over 50 customers that were waiting in excess of 2 years to clear their background check? So we actually filed the shot clock bill that did pass the House. Unfortunately, it bogged down in the Senate, but that's where Senator Gaetz comes in handy.
Yeah, we'll send reinforcements.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Rudman. You know, one of the reasons we have to preserve our Second Amendment rights is to preserve our First Amendment rights to speak. Increasingly, we face a radical left that wants to make us fly our MAGA flag at half-mast. They want us to believe that if we're America first, that that's something to be ashamed of. We are so grateful to be in a community in Northwest Florida where we have so many veterans, so many retired law enforcement, so many natural patriots who understand that America is our birthright. But Kyle, as you've traveled around the country, you have faced down the heckler's veto, where they've tried to do everything they can to stop you from carrying a message. Share with the folks in Northwest Florida what that's been like and how you've been able to combat that.
Absolutely. So there's been countless events. I'll speak to.
Hold a little closer. Yeah.
Sorry, still new to the microphone thing. There's been countless events that I've done, and I'll give an example to one that I did, which was quite insane. It was at University of Memphis, to where the schools were, Turning Point USA put on an event for me to come and speak to their students about the importance of the Second Amendment. So I agreed. I went out there, and Turning Point has a really good ticketing system that they use to vet everything and to make sure that everything is legit. And the school, University of Memphis, went in and said, no, can't do that, revoked their ticketing system, implemented their own, because they couldn't really suppress my speech, because I have a First Amendment right just like everybody else did. But what they did was they made it to where I was speaking to a crowd of people who hated me, and it was all BLM and Antifa folks.
Well, if you need backup, just send out the word. Northwest Florida's got your back. So it's so central to our identity, the connection we have to the military, and I want you to talk about how many active duty military and veterans come in here and are part of your customer base. But it is a disgrace what the Biden administration has done to our military, trying to drive people out with the purge of patriots, whether that's the teaching of socialism or critical race theory or DEI, or whether it was the unconstitutional, unscientific vax mandate that separated 8,600 of our fellow patriots. I want every Northwest Floridian to know, I will never rest, and President Trump will never rest until we roll out the red carpet for every one of those patriots to join our military if they want to again, with the full restoration of their rank and back pay. Now talk about, you got so many military that come here. What's it like being a small business able to serve that community? And I think you've had some unique challenges there as well.
So it's amazing. We have so many military here. They either get stationed here, or a lot of them, they're stationed here at some point, and then they love it so much they move back when they're done. And it's amazing.
We got a few of them.
Absolutely. And we love you guys. There's probably, I would say, 80% of our customer base is military. They have challenges, though. The problem is, and we had this come up yesterday, we had a military spouse come in and wanted to buy a firearm. And this military spouse couldn't buy a handgun to protect themselves because they weren't a resident of the state of Florida. Now, there's nothing that they can do. Their military spouse, the military member can come in with their PCS orders and buy a firearm with their PCS orders, but the spouse doesn't. And the spouse is, this was a wife. Her husband was deployed. So what's she supposed to do? She can't buy a handgun in the state of Florida because she's not technically a resident of the state of Florida, but she's here serving our country, and her husband's deployed. She just wants something to protect herself. It's amazing having this much military here, but they have to jump through so many hoops to purchase a firearm in the state of Florida. And it's not just Florida, that's all over the country. I will say, during COVID, and we'll tell this quick story, there was a young lady, she was 19 years old. And back in 2018, they passed where 18, 19, and 20-year-olds couldn't buy a firearm in the state of Florida. Well, COVID was happening, and this young lady had just had a baby. Her husband was deployed. She came in wanting to buy a shotgun during one of the scariest times in our country. And I couldn't sell her a shotgun. Your husband can come in and buy one. Well, he's deployed. What am I supposed to do? I could not sell this young lady with a newborn a shotgun in the state of Florida because her husband was deployed and she wasn't 21 years old.
Well, we have to have the solutions that vindicate those rights emanating from our community. We can't expect them to come from anywhere else, and that's where I'm going to ask you guys for a favor today. A few members of my campaign team, they're handing out some flyers that have got the contact information from some of our military overseas voters. And in just a few days, they're going to be getting a ballot for the Republican primary that's held on August 20th. And y'all do me a huge favor. If you took one of those little flyers, send a call or a text to one of our active duty military folks who's requested a ballot. First thing you tell them is we thank them for their service and we're honored that they count Northwest Florida as their home. And the second thing is if you wouldn't mind asking them to vote for their Congressman Matt Gaetz and sending that ballot back so that we get a really strong showing there and pound it through. We'd love to have you volunteer for our campaign in the coming weeks. Ballots are going to be sent out. We're going to be pushing folks to chase those ballots down, to turn out the early vote, to get folks out on Election Day, because I want to send the resounding message back to the swamp that we will never stop fighting for this country. We love this country. We are rejuvenated in our spirit that Donald Trump is going to be rightfully restored to the White House. And I'm going to be there to be his strongest supporter in the United States House of Representatives. So we want to make sure we get time to visit with you. Kyle's got some books to give out. Chris and I want to take photos, want to visit with you. But the best part of this program is always when my amazing wife Ginger gets to sing us a song. So please rise. We're going to sing God Bless America with my wife Ginger Gaetz.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with fire.